How to reverse type 2 diabetes. This is the exact blueprint my clients use for sustainable results. We're going to discuss the root causes of type 2 diabetes, the importance of lifestyle recalibration, and a step by step plan to achieve an HbA1c below 5.7%, which is non diabetic. If you stay till the end, I'll reveal exactly how you can have complete dietary freedom without any kind of medical issues. Here's a little about me. My name is Jerome Caguioa. I've been a fitness professional since 2001, and I started that as a personal trainer, then becoming a fitness director. I've been personally responsible for multiple personal training departments in multiple companies of big box gyms you might have heard of. During that time, I was also responsible for hiring, training, and developing personal trainers and teaching them how to get results for their clients. It was in my best interest to make sure they were actually good at their job. That being said, I had to develop science backed systems for losing fat, in turn, reversing type 2 diabetes. And that's for reproducibility because we wouldn't make money if we didn't get results. I've been a competitive bodybuilder and I've had my own personal experience with type 2 diabetes with my family and with me personally. With my family, I lost both of my grandparents before the age of 10 due to diabetic complications. My own personal experience was in 2017, I sustained an injury that kept me from being mobile for a period of time. I gained about 40 pounds and experienced pre diabetic symptoms. Here's a picture of me when I gained that weight. I ballooned up to about 250 at my heaviest. This is what I looked like once I was able to move again and fix the things that I was doing incorrectly. But here's some proof. This is my client. That's Brian. At the time, he was a 57-year-old rental property owner. He lost 53.6 pounds in 4.5 months. That got him off his blood pressure medications. He dropped all but one diabetic medication. He went from a 7.6% to 5.3% HbA1c. That's technically non-diabetic in a period of 14 weeks. He did that with only, in total, 3 hours a week of what we consider exercise. Let me talk about who this is not for. Self-proclaimed experts seeking validation, those looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, individuals seeking an in-depth scientific explanation. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy who's had personal experience with literally thousands of people and have been responsible for them achieving their goals. Viewers aiming to disprove the content. Who this is for. Individuals tired of managing type 2 diabetes and its associated challenges. That includes the medications, the side effects associated with those medications, doctor's visits, diabetic neuropathy. I saw one of my grandfathers lose both his legs due to type 2 diabetes. You also have heart disease and any other chronic disease that's associated with type 2 diabetes. Those who are serious about improving their health and quality of life, viewers seeking lifestyle changes for sustainable results, and individuals looking for an overview of high leverage actions to improve insulin sensitivity. We're going to give you the 50,000-foot view of what to do. Reversing type 2 diabetes requires understanding its causes, how insulin resistance develops, and identifying the factors we can control to address root causes. It starts out with excessive calorie consumption. That means just consuming more calories than you actually need for your day-to-day living. That can come from excessive carbohydrate or fat. There's a huge misconception that is strictly carbohydrates, but both have been shown to cause insulin insensitivity, leading to type 2 diabetes. The initial storage of excess calories goes to fat in your adipose tissue or fat cells. When that happens, the fat cells expand and increase in number. After a period of time, you have fat cell saturation and they reach their max capacity and can no longer store the excess energy that you consume. And that excess leads to alternative storage mechanisms. Your energy tries to get stored as glycogen in your muscle and your liver cells, and the excess calories go there. Those also have limited capacity for glycogen storage. Excess glycogen storage in the liver can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, which is the accumulation of excess fat in the liver cells that causes inflammation and damage. Systemically, when you have that happening, you have insulin resistance developing. That's due to prolonged excess glucose in the bloodstream and the insulin resistance in the muscle and liver cells. That's after you have insulin resistance in the fat cells. The insulin resistance reduces the glucose uptake into those cells. When you do that long enough, you eventually get pancreatic response and beta cell dysfunction. That means the pancreas initially compensates by producing more insulin. That's where you're hyperinsulinemic. That leads to pancreatic cell beta cell dysfunction and reduced insulin production. So they just stop responding. You just have too much going on. Blood sugar increase and other contributing factors. Over time, the amount of glucose in your bloodstream increases. That increases your blood sugar levels. That's when your doctor is typically saying your blood sugar is elevated. Other factors that can contribute to the progression include genetics, but the research shows that genetics with type 2 diabetes plays less than 20% of the final outcome. It's more so a lifestyle issue than it is a genetic issue. Physical inactivity, certain medications can contribute to this, and also systemic inflammation. Inflammation is one of the number one causes, or chronic inflammation is one of the number one causes for all the chronic diseases. This is when we have the development of type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance and pancreatic beta cell dysfunction leads to the impaired glucose regulation. That's when we get the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. This is an illustration showing that insulin resistance is not on or off. It is a spectrum. This happens over a long period of time. From the research I've seen, we're looking at minimum 10 plus years. In a lot of cases, 2 decades. When we're younger, we start out highly insulin sensitive. We have plenty of muscle, plenty of fat storage. But then as we age, what happens really is we become more sedentary with our jobs because we seek to be more comfortable. And inactivity, but also muscle shrinkage due to inactivity increases insulin resistance. Then we come over here. It is something that is a sliding scale. You have always some degree of insulin sensitivity or insensitivity. An easy way to illustrate that, if you imagine this being on the left side of that scale, this being on the right side, when we're younger, we start out, most people are lean. You have plenty of muscle, you have plenty of space for your fat, but whenever all those things get full with the excess calories that you continue to consume and you don't move or don't use your muscles, we have muscle atrophy that illustrates this. So you have less space to store the excess calories. You've already maxed out your fat capacity. And this is where you also are considered sarcopenic. With age, you're automatically going to lose muscle. Unless you're doing something to maintain or add muscle, you're always going to lose it. That makes this a losing battle because over time, if you don't do anything to influence your muscle, you're always going to have to control your diet because this keeps shrinking away. That means more medications and being just a lot more strict on your diet. The takeaway from this is your body became more dependent on glucose. We need to teach your body how to not be dependent on glucose and burn fat. And the takeaway from here is to lose fat. That shows that your body is no longer glucose dependent and it knows how to burn fat. So that's what we consider metabolic flexibility. When you're metabolically flexible and you get to a low enough body fat percentage, this says body composition is metabolic health. The leaner you are, the more metabolically healthier you are, and you're able to go back and forth between glucose and fat for your energy source. This is the reason why, if you ever seen people who are lean and muscular, they're able to eat whatever they want without consequence because they have the ability to store excess calories should they over consume calories for a short period of time. Here's my protocol I use with my clients, not only for diabetes, but also fat loss. It's one and the same. Phase 1, which is what I'm going to go into in depth, is fat loss, which will decrease your HbA1c, but also improve health markers where you got to get it healthy first. Step 2 is once we get to a healthy percentage of body fat and add a little muscle, we're going to focus strictly on muscle gain. That makes it so we have more ability to burn carbohydrates, but you also increase your basal metabolic rate. That allows us to add some carbs in. Phase 3 is a fat loss phase again with a higher BMR and NEAT. I'll get into that here in a bit. Phase 4 is our maintenance, where you have the ability to have a flexible diet. I'll go over that. Phase one, the goal is to minimize the glucose spikes and teach the body to burn fat. Here's what the nutrition is going to look like: low or zero carb, flatten our glucose spikes, minimize that as much as possible. That will teach your body to burn fat. Eat in a calorie deficit. And how we do that: prioritize protein for muscle growth and repair. Focus on whole, nutrient dense foods such as vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Balance our micronutrients to support muscle growth. That improves your metabolic health. Hydration is also important because most people walk around dehydrated. They don't drink quite enough water, and it says unsweetened beverages. That's an easy way to overconsume calories. Movement. Here's what that looks like. We want a resistance train for hypertrophy. And hypertrophy specifically is resistance training or weight training for the sole purpose of gaining more muscle, because muscle is the primary source of glucose disposal, meaning that's what burns carbohydrates that we intake. When we do this, we have what we consider NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that is the calories you burn in your day-to-day activity of just living. So that's brushing your teeth, walking to your car, gardening, doing stuff around the house. That can be up to 50% plus of your total daily energy expenditure of your TDEE. By increasing muscle, that increases your metabolic rate. When we say increasing your metabolism, this is specifically what we mean is increasing your metabolism. In addition to movement, we want to increase daily steps, because the more muscle we have, especially in our legs, just the act of contracting and relaxing those muscles, that's what burns up all those extra calories from carbohydrates. The easiest way to do that is just get more steps. It's the exercise everybody can do without anything special in terms of equipment or facilities. The other thing we want to do is manage the stress, because cortisol increases glucose, and that glucose causes insulin spikes. If your insulin is elevated, you cannot burn fat, period. How do we do that? Adequate quality sleep. So not necessarily 8+ hours that everybody talks about. It's the quality versus the quantity. If you got 6 amazing hours of sleep, I would rather have my clients do that versus 9 to 10 hours of sleep that was interrupted all the time. Deep breathing. There's research that shows that deep breathing exercises put you in a parasympathetic state, which means that allows your stress to come down. It makes you more relaxed. Take time for hobbies. Find time to do the things you enjoy, because that's relaxing. Talking about your problems. Keeping things bottled up inside causes stress. It's always a good idea to have an outlet to talk about your problems. Eliminate triggers. Anything that might trigger you, any kind of stress response, whether that's an activity or a person or place or thing, eliminate those. That's one of the only ways that I've found with my clients that is easier to be successful, is to eliminate those and structure your environment for success. Lifestyle recalibration. This is my whole brand, which is habit reprogramming. This is adopting a new paradigm for living that supports optimal metabolic health. We construct an environment that fosters success with accountability to someone other than yourself. That's extremely important, because people have had coaches in the past, or they have had teams, and they thrive in those types of environments. Whereas it's very easy to let yourself down when nobody else is holding you accountable to the goals you set out for yourself. That's a lot of reasons why people hire me, is they need accountability to stick to the plan, other than people they know or themselves. The goal of this is to reprogram your habits for long-term sustainability, ensuring lasting change beyond temporary fixes. That is the goal, is for long-term success, because the statistics show that people who attempt to lose weight, 90% of them fail and gain the weight back or more within 2 years of stopping whatever it is they attempted. Phase 2, build muscle and reintroduce carbs. This is where we unlock passive fat burning and increase metabolic flexibility, simply because we have achieved a lower percentage of body fat. Lower body fat increases your ability to intake carbs. So we introduce carbs for muscle growth and improve performance. There's plenty of research that shows that if you want to improve your performance in the gym or in athletic anaerobic environments, carbs are very important for that. That's what that talks about here is improving your gym performance, overall health. When we add more muscle, that adds more onto the side of the equation about not move more, eat less. That means we get to burn more, moving the same, but exponentially more. And that allows us to have an HbA1c that keeps dropping simply because we just keep adding more muscle. Think about your metabolism like an engine. When you're in your 20s, let's say it's a V8, it's big, it burns a lot of calories. But then when you're sedentary, you don't move, it shrinks down to a 4 liter or smaller. It burns less calories than when we go back to focusing on this. And it can be done at any age to add that muscle back or more. Then it goes back to being a V8. Ideally, you want to be a V12 where we burn more calories to the point where you don't feel like you're ever on a diet because your body requires more energy to sustain what you have put on your body, the muscle. Phase 3, once we add enough muscle, we work on fat loss. And that's with a higher BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, the number of calories burned at rest, and a higher NEAT. That is the activity that you do on a day-to-day basis. We're able to achieve a sustainable fat loss with an increased metabolic rate. You don't necessarily need to do more activity, which is the case with every other method that people use in terms of just stacking on more cardio, because they never stack the cards in their favor in terms of just adding more muscle. And you can do the same amount of activity, burn more calories. It's like compounding interest. Over time, it's just gets huge in terms of the returns you get. That improves your body composition and you reduce your health risks and enhance your overall energy and well-being. We optimize your metabolic health for long-term success. Phase 4 is when we hit a maintenance point, when we lost the fat and we're at what we consider a healthy percentage of body fat. At that point, you can have a flexible diet. You're able to maintain optimal health and have metabolic flexibility, meaning you can enjoy a balanced and varied diet without restriction. This is where people can eat whatever. They don't have to limit or have zero carbs for the rest of their life just because they're a type 2 diabetic. When you get to this point, you can eat whatever you want as long as your habits have been ingrained and you're maintaining that muscle mass. It's a very small investment time-wise. We're looking at only 2 to 3 workouts per week to maintain muscle that you put on. You can continue to improve your overall health and well-being. This also helps you solidify sustainable lifestyle habits for long-term success. This goes back to our lifestyle recalibration, where during all 4 phases, we're building the habits and I'm giving my clients the frameworks and the ability to be able to handle anything and everything that comes their way so that this is something that sticks with them for life. Because let's be real, who honestly wants to have to lose the same 20 to 50 pounds over and over and over again? If you found this helpful, comment below. What was your biggest takeaway? If you'd help with reversing your type 2 diabetes and achieving a healthier life, click the link in the description and apply to work with me, and I'll take it from there.